Hi everybody, my name is Monica and I'm a qualified energy psychology coach and intuitive, helping people reprogram their limiting beliefs, their unconscious self-sabotaging patterns and habits, and really program themselves for what they want instead in life. Typically joy, abundance, wealth, health, happiness, prosperity, loving relationships, and so on and so forth. In this video I want to talk about the key differences between the different types of soul contracts that we may encounter in our lives, and it is very much aimed at romantic type of relationships. I have been on my twin flame journey for the last 5 years, and I have learned a tremendous amount about myself, about my own, how I relate to myself, how I relate to other people, and the whole journey has really been pushing me to become the best version of myself that I can be. And I got to a point in my healing journey where I really felt guided by the divine spirit to start helping other people to heal and ascend and ultimately come to a full wholeness of their being, their sort of self-mastery. So without further ado, let's kick off the video talking about the different types of romantic soul contracts that you may encounter in your life. And before we start with them, I want to say that there is no such thing as one relationship being better than the other, because ultimately all relationships are helping us to understand our own relationship with ourselves first and foremost. Because if you have heard the saying, fill your own cup first, before you fill somebody else's, it's really true. And it may sound like a cliche, but if we don't fully and unconditionally love, value, accept and respect ourselves, we're never going to be able to give that type of love to another human being, including our twin flame. So every single relationship is pushing us deeper into ourselves to understand where we hold limiting beliefs, where we hold unconscious restrictive programmings that are holding us back from experiencing life, love and relationships more fully. And as much as I don't like labels, and we really need to be careful putting labels on things, I do think it, to some extent, it helps to shed some light onto the different sort of types of soul contracts that we encounter in our lives. I also want to say that we are never a victim. We attract every single relationship into our lives for two reasons. First reason is it's based on what we agreed at the soul level to walk the path with another soul, hold them, help them, support them, teach them. So we have agreed every single relationship we encounter and experience in our lives, we have agreed that on a soul level prior to incarnating onto the earth plane. And secondly, we meet those people in exactly the right time, when our own soul is ready to ascend higher, when we are ready to shift certain limitations, and learn to love, value, accept and respect ourselves and the other person a little bit more. So you are never a victim. And the minute you accept this and really release the victim mentality, no matter how bad your situation is, and I know that there are a lot of really tough, extremely tough and challenging circumstances that people can be in and deal with. I personally have had loads of clients where like few ladies or even men have ended up in relationships with their twin flames, only to then go into separation, and they already had children together, and it became very challenging when the other twin has chosen somebody else and is bringing up somebody else's children. So it can be enormously difficult, but even those difficult situations are guaranteed to be teaching you something really powerful for you, not for your twin, for you. And it's often likely to be one of two things. One, sort of loving yourself more, loving yourself regardless of what's happening on the external, committing to yourself more, committing to your own happiness regardless of what the other person is doing. You know, if your twin is out there dating women, sleeping around, you know, even married or even had children with somebody else, the best thing you can do is to forgive them and forgive yourself, and focus on your own happiness. So you're never a victim of anything. You have likely chosen this, you know, of your own accord, to experience that, for you to realize that you are an enormously powerful divine creator who can be happy without your twin, who can achieve things without your twin, who can create the most amazing, beautiful, incredible life without your twin. And if anything, this twin flame journey is teaching us to balance the delicate, to reach the delicate balance between unconditional love and detachment from the outcome. It's really hard to master. It can take years, even lifetimes. So just be patient with yourself, be loving to yourself, and forgive yourself and the other person, and really focus on your own happiness. So you're never a victim. Even if you, for example, have been in a karmic situation where the karmic partner has been enormously abusive and hurtful, trust that you're never a victim. It's guaranteed that that relationship has taught you something incredibly important about your own value, about your own worth, about your own beauty, and the power of your divine spirit that can transcend anything. So I want to leave it here, and I want to swiftly move on to the signs and differences between the different types of soul contracts that we may encounter, we may experience, may choose to experience in our lives. So first one is the karmic relationships. So the first type of relationships, romantic relationships, are karmic relationships. These are often the toughest of relationships to experience, as there is typically a lot of betrayal, heartache, you know, selfishness, big imbalance between giving and receiving, and even a lot of mental, emotional, and God forbid, sort of physical type of abuse. These relationships can be extremely damaging to or self-esteem, or value, or worth. There is a huge imbalance between giving and receiving, huge imbalance between sort of the masculine, feminine energy, and you know, one person tends to be the nurturer, the giver, and the other person just takes, and it's just very unhealthy, very toxic, very abusive, I would say. Signs that you are in a karmic relationships in a relationship include intense passion, selfishness, one-sidedness, big imbalance between giving and receiving, a lot of sort of toxic manipulation, control, shame, guilt, jealousy, and like I've mentioned before, there can be mental, emotional, physical type of abuse where one person tries to dominate the other person, but they tend to put their own needs over and above the other person's needs, and constantly sort of diminish your value, your kind of right to have your own needs met. These relationships are very passionate. the karmic relationships ignite very fast, but they also come crashing down very quickly. They're not sustainable. And the best thing you can do to once you realize that you're in a karmic relationship, is to really cut the karmic cycle, and get out as soon as possible, and really start rebuilding your own worth, your own value, nurturing yourself, loving yourself, and reminding yourself that your needs do matter, that you are a worthy divine being, that deserves a beautiful, loving relationship that is nurturing to your soul, that is supportive, that is loving and giving, and you deserve to get as much as you give to others. So these are the karmic types of relationships. I want to mention my own experience with a karmic relationship. My very first love was when I was about 18 years old. I met this sexy Italian bloke in my small town in Europe, and we madly fell in love. It was very kind of like the love on the first sight. So like I said, these relationships do ignite very fast. They're very passionate. We've been together for about 2 years. I felt that the connection was intense, but I always felt there was a lot of control and manipulation from him. Like whenever I went out with my girlfriends, he would call me 10 times to ask, what am I doing, where am I, who am I with. He would want to see, he would want to speak to my girlfriends, and it was there was a lot of jealousy, a lot of manipulation, a lot of he was quite generous, but it was on his term. He would even go as far as telling me what to wear, what makeup to put on and stuff like that. And to be fair, I was really young. This was my first experience being in a committed, serious relationship, and I didn't know any better. I kind of, I knew that there are a few things that are not quite right, but as a young girl, I didn't have any experience. I kind of wanted that relationship to work because I clearly loved the person. And what happened, we've been together for about 2 years, and he ended up cheating on me. So it wasn't very pleasant. It was horrible, and my little heart was broken to a million pieces. So much so that I ended up leaving the small town I'm from in Europe, because I just couldn't bear seeing my ex, strolling through the town, holding hands with the person he cheated on me with. It was just so unbelievably painful that I felt that the best thing I can do is to just leave and focus on my career, focus on my studies. And I was really guided to come to London in the UK. I wanted to always study business marketing, and improve my English, and it's not a surprise that I was guided to come here, because it is this very place where I later on met my soulmate, false twin flame, and even a real, genuine twin flame connection. At the end of the day, this is this is the place of the heart chakra, as some of you may know, energetically speaking. Like Earth has also chakras, and the Somerset, the Stonehenge, is the place of the heart chakra. So it kind of makes sense that this is where I have experienced all these beautiful connections, and even though not all of them were romantic for me, like I've only really had 2 serious relationships. The other 2 were more teachers to me, if that makes sense, mentors. But I will talk about it in just a moment, so stay tuned. So the second type of soul contracts that I want to talk about is soulmates. If you have worked hard on integrating the lessons from a karmic relationship, if you have met a karmic in the past, and these are the lessons of self-love and worth, being worthy of love, then you're likely vibing the energy of wanting to sort of experience a love that is much more balanced, much more kind of where there is great balance between giving and receiving. It's very loving and nurturing. It really has to come from you. So like I was saying, you need to vibe it from the inside out. You need to feel worthy of love, worthy of receiving. You need to be open to receiving. And this is where you meet, you may meet a divine soulmate. Soulmate types of connections are typically very loving, very nurturing, very giving, very generous, very loyal, trustworthy, supportive. And they are really here to support us in our life's journey. These types of connections are typically very stable. There is a lot of trust, faith, honesty, loyalty, and so much so that soulmates often choose to bring families into the world. So they may choose to have children together. And it's just very beautiful that they may still challenge us. Soulmates may still challenge us, but it will be more likely positively stated. So for example, they may really push you and encourage you to take up, to pursue certain types of career, or even self-realize in some way. For example, write a book, create a course, or even like I was saying, become a mother or a father, because that in itself is a huge lesson in life, where you are going to be challenged but supported by your soulmate partner to bring sort of healthy family into this world. The soulmate connections are very loving, very supportive. They really hold you, and they don't really want to change you. Like, I know I have met 3 years after my karmic relationship has ended. I was in a much better place of I've healed myself, rebuilt my self-worth and value, and I kind of was vibing the energy that I am open to love again. I'm open to experiencing a type of connection where I will be loved and respected for who I am. And this is where I have met my soulmate, my husband. And it's kind of funny because right from the outset, I knew that there was something really beautiful about this person. He was very loving, very nurturing, and even despite the fact that I've had a lot of trust issues because my ex cheated on me, he was so loving and loyal and kept reassuring me that he would never do anything like that. And I felt loved, and I felt loved for who I am, and I felt seen. I felt like I don't have to pretend to be somebody I'm not. That there was sort of unconditional love and support on such a level like I've never experienced in my life before, not even from my parents. So like I was saying, the soulmate types of connections are very, very loving, supportive, loyal, generous, so much so that you almost when you meet your soulmate, the energy will be so strong that you will always want the person, you will always want the best for the other person, even if it is at your own expense. So I know that there have been, for example, between my husband and I, so many scenarios where he sort of wanted something, but he would always put me first. He would always prioritize my needs over and about his own in so many cases. And because I am the type of person that I would do the same for him, it's kind of like the whole relationship is focused on compromise. but in a good way, that you're not being selfish, you're not being, you know, it's not one-sided. It's really kind of always looking at what is the best thing for the relationship, what is the best for us as a family. Like one thing that my husband sort of said to me right from the beginning, and it was so reassuring and nurturing, was you know, we are a family. We were only dating for like a few months, and he would always tell me, we are a family, Mon, I'm your family. And I, at the time, I was, God, when we first met, I was like 24, and to be honest, I didn't really know what it means, and I wasn't awakened at the time. I just was like, oh, this is a bit weird, but okay, I'm going with it. But only now, sort of so many more years later, I understand where this was coming from, and that he truly is my soulmate, my divine soulmate. I have mentioned it in another video, but some of you know that I have been brought up by a narcissistic mother, and the whole experience of this in my childhood has pushed me so hard to it was sort of incredibly painful at times, because some of you who have an experience of being kind of have been in a relationship with a narcissistic person, or have got a narcissistic parent, you know that it's just tremendously painful and very damaging to your self-esteem and you know, your own worth and value, because the narcissistic parent will always prioritize their own needs over and above yours. So most of my childhood, I felt like I had to walk around the eggshells around my mother, always like boost her self-esteem and confidence, and you know, always try and kind of create harmony in the family, where on the other hand, she was complete opposite, like would always create a drama to put herself, you know, in a center of the attention, and to position herself like a victim, that she's always the one who is hurt, who is sad, who is somebody like is doing something wrong to her. And I remember most of my childhood I spent kind of walking around and trying to kind of calm everybody down, create harmony in the family. I would try and avoid conflict, and often at my own expense, like I often had to diminish my own emotional needs. Like I never felt like I had a mother who would nurture me, who would support me, who would love me unconditionally. So when I met my husband, my soulmate, he basically sort of, without even me knowing this at the time, what he has been doing, he's been helping me to rebuild my own value and my own worth, my own confidence within myself. And he kept constantly reminding me, we are a family, like I'm here for you, I'm not going anywhere, I support you, I love you for who you are, you don't have to, you know, be anybody else, I love you for who you are. And I know it's like, especially in this day and age where a lot of this is so rare, because especially in this day and age there are so many relationships out there, you know, where the other person only loves you if you're thin, if you're sexy, if you're slim, if you are achieving all these amazing million things. And I know that my husband is my soulmate, because he loved me unconditionally, whether I was thin or whether I put on weight, when I wore makeup, didn't wear makeup, at my best and my worst, when I was achieving at work, when I was sacked from work, when I you know, even and especially after like one huge sign that, you know, that I have genuinely met somebody so incredibly special as a divine soulmate, is when after I've met my twin flame, I began this horrendous process of spiritual awakening that has been so painful, because a lot of these wounds of you know, of my childhood, when I was sort of really mistreated and sort of abused, emotionally abused by my narcissistic mother, a lot of these wounds basically kept coming up to the surface, and And I was absolutely honest to my husband as to what was going on for me, and that I met my twin, and at the time, to be honest, I didn't know what's going on. I just felt all this enormous pain, so much so that I had to leave. I had to leave the corporate work I was doing, and I spent like a few months just recovering, because it was, I literally felt like I was dying. It was horrendous. And he like was by my side, supporting me, loving me through it all, and holding me and helping me. I honestly, there's so much gratitude in my heart for him, because I do believe that every single one of us in life has at least one person that we can really hold on to and look for support. A lot of us have our families. You know, some of us you know, have our children who love us unconditionally. Some of us have, you know, friends, and some of us have met soulmates who genuinely love us for who we are, and we don't have to pretend to be anybody else. So these are soulmate types of relationships. They are very nurturing, and they are sort of incredibly stable and loving and supportive. So please leave me a note in a comment if you have met your soulmate and what your experiences are with them, and it would be really nice to hear from you.